The first thing I heard was the moaning, low, breathy, and unmistakable. It drifted down the hallway, curling around me like a thick, suffocating fog. I stopped dead in my tracks, my fingers tightening around the handle of my suitcase. Emma, my daughter, was right behind me, dragging her duffel bag across the floor. She was humming some pop song under her breath, oblivious. Then, laughter. A woman's giggle, light, flirtatious, intimate. It was followed by a deep, familiar voice, one that had whispered secrets to me in the dark for over 20 years. Mark. My husband. The air in my lungs turned to stone. Emma must have sensed my shift because she stopped humming. "Mom?" she asked, peering at me. I said nothing. I couldn't. The house was dimly lit, a few candles flickering in the living room. The scent of vanilla and wine hung in the air. A bottle sat half empty on the coffee table beside 2 glasses. We weren't supposed to be home yet. We had taken a mother-daughter weekend trip, 3 nights at the lake house. But Emma had felt sick this morning, so we left early. Mark had said he was staying home to catch up on work. Now we were standing in the hallway of our home, listening to him and another woman. Not just another woman. I took a slow step forward, my feet moving before my mind could catch up. The bedroom door was cracked open, a sliver of soft light spilling into the hallway. The sounds coming from inside were obscene. I didn't want to look, but I did, and I wished to God that I hadn't. Jessica, Emma's best friend, straddling my husband, in our bed. I swayed on my feet. My breath came in short, sharp gasps. Jessica was wearing my robe. It drowned her smaller frame, hanging loosely off her shoulders. She was holding a wine glass. My wine glass. Emma made a strangled noise beside me. I barely registered the way she clapped a hand over her mouth, her entire body trembling. Jessica turned at the sound. She didn't even flinch. She didn't cover herself, didn't scramble for clothes, didn't look even remotely ashamed. Instead, she smirked. Then she leaned down and kissed my husband. I felt something inside me snap. Emma let out a choked sob and turned, sprinting down the hallway. I heard the front door fly open, then slam shut. Mark stretched beneath Jessica, running a lazy hand up her thigh. He didn't even look guilty. He looked pleased, smug, like a man who had won some twisted game. He met my eyes, smirking. "Well," he said casually, "I guess the secret's out." The room spun. My stomach lurched violently, but I swallowed it down. I was frozen in place, still gripping my suitcase like an idiot. Jessica tilted her head. "You're home early," she said, her voice smooth, sultry. "My daughter's best friend, looking me in the eye while she lays with my husband." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Mark shifted, sighing like this was some mild inconvenience. "You're taking this personally, babe," he said, sitting up against the headboard. "It just happened." It just happened. I felt the weight of those words settle inside me like a blade between my ribs. Jessica ran her fingers through her long, dark hair. "I mean, we didn't plan it," she added with a little shrug, "but we're in love." In love. The humiliation was instant, blinding. It clawed at my chest, curled around my throat, filled my mouth with bile. But underneath it, something else stirred, something dark. Slowly, I straightened. I let my fingers relax from the death grip I had on my suitcase. My gaze swept over the scene again, taking in every detail. The tangled sheets, the flickering candles, Jessica's bare legs draped over my husband's. Mark, still lounging in our bed, still so sure of himself. The humiliation would fade, the heartbreak would heal. But the rage? That would stay. I took a single step forward, lowering my voice to something deadly quiet. "You think this is your happy ending?" I asked, tilting my head. "Just wait." Jessica blinked. "Excuse me?" Mark frowned. "Linda." But I was already turning. I walked out, ignoring the burning in my eyes, ignoring the way my hands shook at my sides. I didn't run after Emma. I didn't cry, I didn't scream or break anything or beg for an explanation. I didn't need one, because this wasn't the end of my story. This was just the beginning. And one thing was certain. They would never be happy. I'd make damn sure of it. The house was suffocating. I stood in the hallway, staring at the walls, at the framed photos of a life that no longer existed. Smiling family vacations, Christmas mornings, our wedding day. Lies. Every single one of them. Upstairs, the bedroom door had shut. Laughter spilled from behind it. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. My hands clenched at my sides. I needed to get out. I stepped outside into the cold night air, my breath coming in sharp bursts. Emma was sitting on the porch steps, knees pulled to her chest, her face buried in her arms. Her whole body shook. My chest tightened. This wasn't just my betrayal. It was hers, too. Jessica had been her best friend since middle school. She had sleepovers in our house, movie nights on our couch, ate dinner at our table. I knelt beside her, placing a hand on her back. "Emma," I whispered. She stiffened but didn't look up. "I don't want to talk." I swallowed. "We don't have to, but I'm here." Her shoulders rose and fell with a shaky breath. Then, finally, she whispered, "How long?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. I didn't know. But the way Mark and Jessica had acted, their ease, their arrogance, this wasn't new. Emma lifted her head. Her face was blotchy, streaked with silent tears. Was it happening when I was still friends with her? The thought made me sick. Jessica had been in our house constantly. "She doesn't deserve your tears." Emma sniffed and wiped at her face, nodding. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close. And as I did, my mind started working. The pain was still there, throbbing in my chest, but beneath it was something sharper. Jessica and Mark thought I was weak. They thought I'd break down, beg, crumble into nothing while they played house. They were wrong. So very, very wrong. The next morning I woke up early. I barely slept, but it didn't matter. I had work to do. Mark left the house short after I discovered their betrayal. He didn't check on Emma. He didn't try to talk to me. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. Messages flooded in. Friends, family, people who had seen the pictures. Oh yeah, they had posted pictures. A mirror selfie of Mark and Jessica at some restaurant, wine glasses raised, her hand on his chest, grinning. The caption? "Finally with my soulmate." I stared at the screen, feeling something inside me curdle. They weren't just together. They wanted me to see it. I placed my phone down, exhaling slowly. All right then. If they wanted attention, I'd give them plenty. I grabbed a pen and a notepad. My hand moved without hesitation. First, Jessica's reputation. She thinks she's untouchable. Let's see about that. Then, Mark's finances. He thinks he's in control? Time to remind him who really holds the cards. And then the perfect couple. They want to show off? I'll make sure everyone sees the cracks. I tapped the pen against my chin, my mind already forming a plan. Jessica had burned 2 bridges, mine and Emma's. That meant 2 wars were coming for her. I pulled up my phone and opened a message thread. "Linda, hey, hope you're doing well. I was wondering if we could grab coffee soon. I have something you need to hear." I hit send. To Jessica's mother, I had just made my first move, and neither of them saw it coming. I stared at my phone, my message to Diane still glowing on the screen. I set the phone down, my fingers drumming lightly against the table. This was just the first step. Mark and Jessica thought they could humiliate me, replace me, erase me from my own life. But what they didn't realize was that I wasn't going to fight them. I was going to pull them apart from the inside. And I would do it without breaking a single rule. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Diane, "Of course, Linda. I'd love to talk." Perfect. Jessica might have been careless enough to sleep with my husband, but she had made a crucial mistake. She had underestimated me. The game had begun. Diane and I met at a quiet cafe on the other side of town. She arrived in a rush, shaking her head as she dropped her purse onto the table. "I just don't understand," she muttered before she even sat down. "How could she do this?" I reached for my coffee, keeping my expression soft. "I wish I had an answer for you." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "I raised her better than this. I swear I did. And Emma, I feel so awful for Emma." I nodded, waiting, letting her talk. "That girl used to call you her second mother," she continued bitterly. "I don't know what got into her head." I exhaled slowly, lowering my voice. "Diane, I think Jessica has a pattern." Her gaze snapped to mine. "What do you mean?" I leaned in. "She's always been drawn to older men. Men who can provide for her, spoil her. Mark isn't special. He's just the next one on the list." I hesitated, letting the words sink in. "And he won't be the last." Diane's face darkened. That was all I needed. The seed had been planted. Jessica might have thought she had Mark, but she was about to lose her mother's trust. Over the next 2 weeks, Diane started pulling away. Calls went unanswered. Family dinners? Jessica wasn't invited, not because of Mark, but because of who she had become. Jessica wasn't just losing support, she was losing her biggest defender. And I hadn't even touched her yet. Next, I turned my attention to Jessica's career. She prided herself on being a respected yoga instructor. Her entire brand was built on trust. Moms sent their teenage daughters to her. Wealthy clients confided in her. What would happen if they found out she was sleeping with her best friend's father? Would they still trust her? I started small. A few whispers, anonymous messages. "Are you comfortable with your daughter training with her? Did you know she's dating a married man?" Mothers started canceling their sessions. Other instructors began avoiding her. Jessica was still smiling on the outside, but I knew she was bleeding underneath. Then came the final blow. Her boss called her into a meeting. I wasn't there, but I could picture it. The concerned expression. The polite but firm words. "We just have to be careful about optics." Jessica tried to fight it, I'm sure. She probably swore it was all overblown. But 2 weeks later, she lost 3 of her biggest clients. Her reputation tarnished, her income cut in half. And suddenly, her dream life with Mark wasn't looking so perfect anymore. Mark thought he was untouchable. That because he made the money, he held the power. But Mark was a fool. For 20 years, I had handled everything. The bills, the investments, the taxes. He never paid attention, so I made sure he felt it. I pulled half of our savings. I moved investments into my name. Suddenly, the comfortable lifestyle he promised Jessica wasn't so comfortable. Jessica liked fancy restaurants. She liked weekend trips. But now, Mark was making excuses. "Maybe we should stay in tonight." Do we really need another vacation? Jessica wasn't stupid. She noticed. At first, she let it go. The second time, she pushed. By the third time, she was asking too many questions. That's when I made the next move. Mark worked in sales. His reputation was everything. Clients needed to trust him. His boss needed to believe in him. So I made sure that trust started to crack. I placed a well-timed call to an old friend. I heard Mark's been struggling lately, maybe a little distracted. 3 weeks later, he lost his biggest client. His commissions tanked. Mark was spiraling. And Jessica, she was getting sick of it. They still had each other. That was their last defense. So I took that away too. Jessica expected me to lash out, to scream, to cry. Instead, I acted like she didn't matter. I saw her at the grocery store once. She squared her shoulders, prepared for a confrontation. I just smiled sweetly, then walked away. She hated it. The next time she posted a picture of Mark online, I liked it. No comment, no reaction, just a simple casual like. Jessica was unraveling. Then I gave her the final push. I made sure she overheard a conversation. 2 mutual friends. A well-placed whisper. I heard Mark has been texting Linda a lot lately. Jessica froze. Her friend gasped. No way! Do you think he regrets it? Jessica's expression turned cold. That night, she and Mark had their first major fight. She started checking his phone, questioning his late nights, the same way I used to. And Mark? He hated it, because now suddenly he was the one being accused. The fights became more frequent. Jessica stopped trusting him. Mark was losing control, and I was winning. A month after I started my plan, my phone buzzed. Mark, I let it ring. Then, a text. Mark, can we talk? I smiled. Jessica was turning on him. Mark was panicking. Their perfect little fantasy collapsing. And soon, all I had to do was watch them destroy each other. I didn't respond. Not yet. I wasn't done. Loving this story so far? Help us grow by subscribing. Your support allows us to create even more amazing content. Jessica and Mark's relationship had already begun to crumble. My subtle pushes had turned into full-blown cracks. The money problems, the jealousy, the paranoia. It was all finally too much for them. Jessica had stopped trusting him. Mark had started regretting her. All that was left was to push them over the edge. And I knew exactly how to do it. 3 days after Mark's text, I got a call from a friend. You're going to love this, she said, voice dripping with amusement. Jessica just applied for a job at my company. I nearly choked on my coffee. Oh, it gets better, she continued. She listed Mark as her reference. I smiled. Jessica was scrambling. She was running out of money, and Mark's financial problems were becoming her problem. And if she was looking for a job, it meant she was planning for a future without him. It was time to finish what I started. A week later, I walked into the same cafe where I had met Diane. But this time, I wasn't meeting her. I was meeting Mark. He looked like hell. Dark circles under his eyes, jaw tense, shoulders slumped. This wasn't the confident, smug man I had caught in our bed a few months ago. This was a man unraveling. I slid into the seat across from him, folding my hands on the table. You wanted to talk? He exhaled, rubbing his face. Linda, I don't know what happened. I raised an eyebrow. Really? You don't? Mark sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. It's just, Jessica's changed. She's paranoid all the time. She's been questioning me about everything. I can't even check my damn email without her looking over my shoulder. I hummed, sipping my coffee. She thinks I'm still in love with you. I nearly smiled. I tilted my head, pretending to think. Well, Mark, are you? His throat bobbed as he swallowed. Bingo. That hesitation, that second of uncertainty. It was all I needed. Jessica had been spiraling for weeks. She needed just one final push to send her over the edge, and I was about to give it to her. I knew Jessica would be at the bar that night. She had a routine: Friday night drinks with a few of her remaining friends, trying to prove to everyone, and probably herself, that her life wasn't falling apart. So I made sure she saw what she needed to see: a well-placed text to one of her friends, a simple message. "Hey, I just saw Mark and Linda having coffee together. Looked intense." That was all it took. Jessica arrived at the bar in a mood, snapping at the bartender, huffing when her drink took too long, eyes darting around the room, searching for someone to blame her misery on. And then she saw me. I had taken a seat at a booth, sipping my wine, looking completely unbothered. She stormed over, her heels clicking against the floor like gunfire. I set my glass down and looked up at her with the sweetest, most condescending smile I could manage. "Jessica," I said smoothly, "you look tense." Her nostrils flared. "What were you and Mark talking about?" I leaned back in my seat, tilting my head. "Oh, you heard about that?" Her jaw clenched. I sighed, swirling my wine. "Mark wanted to talk. Said you've been acting jealous, that you don't trust him." I lifted a shoulder in a half shrug. I told him I understood. I mean, after all, you were the other woman. Jessica's face flushed red. "You're lying," she snapped. "Mark doesn't—" I raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" Jessica's confidence wavered. She wasn't sure. I leaned forward, my voice soft, lethal. "Tell me, Jessica, do you check his phone? Does he get defensive? Does he leave the room to take calls?" Her lips parted slightly, her chest rising and falling in short, shallow breaths. I smirked. "Interesting." She swallowed hard. And just like that, she cracked. Jessica turned on her heel and stormed out of the bar. Straight home, straight to Mark, straight into a fight they wouldn't come back from. That night, I poured myself another glass of wine and waited. I didn't have to wait long. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A message from Emma. "Mom, you're not going to believe this." I opened the message, a screenshot, Jessica's social media page, a new post. "Some mistakes aren't worth fixing. Moving on." I smirked. The comments were brutal. "Wait, did she just admit she got dumped? Karma is a bitch, huh?" Jessica had lost. I set my phone down and took a sip of wine, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. For the first time in months, I felt light. I had gotten my revenge. And the best part? I never even had to lift a finger. The morning after Jessica's cryptic post, I woke up to a flood of messages. Friends, family, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. "Jessica and Mark are over? Tell me you're laughing right now." Oh, I was. I scrolled through the chaos, watching Jessica's carefully curated image collapse in real time. She had deleted Mark from her social media entirely. Every picture, every post, gone. Even better, she had blocked him. Publicly. That told me everything I needed to know. The night before, Jessica had left the bar in a fury. She had stormed home, accusations already forming on her lips. And Mark? Mark had done what Mark always does. He had gotten defensive. He had snapped. Maybe even called her crazy. But this time, Jessica didn't back down. This time, she saw the truth. The man she had burned her life down for, the man she had humiliated me for, he wasn't worth it. And now, they were over. 2 days later, Mark showed up at my door. I knew he would. I took my time answering, making him sweat. When I finally pulled the door open, he looked tired, worn down, pathetic. I crossed my arms. Mark. His lips parted like he was going to say something, but no words came. He just stood there, eyes flickering between me and the hallway, like he was trying to find the right angle to manipulate me. I let him flounder. Finally, he exhaled. I made a mistake. I arched a brow. Which one? He blinked, caught off guard. Linda, come on, you know what I mean. I tilted my head. Oh, you mean sleeping with my daughter's best friend? Or humiliating me? Or leaving our family for a girl who barely even lasted a few months? His jaw tightened. I wasn't thinking clearly. I smiled. And now? He swallowed. Now, I see things differently. I leaned against the doorframe, pretending to think. I don't know, Mark. I mean, you told me Jessica was your soulmate. He flinched. I kept my voice light, playful, cruel. You should call her. Maybe she'll take you back. His expression darkened, and for the first time in our entire marriage, I saw him for what he truly was. Small, weak, nothing without me. I straightened, fixing him with a look so sharp it could cut through glass. Get off my porch, Mark. His eyes flickered with desperation. He opened his mouth again, but I didn't let him speak. I stepped back and shut the door. For good. That night, I sat on the couch with Emma, a bottle of wine for me, a bowl of ice cream for her. She nudged me with her elbow. You know, this is kinda badass. I smirked, taking a sip of wine. What is? She waved her spoon in the air. Everything! You didn't just survive, Mom. You won. I exhaled slowly, the weight of the last few months finally lifting. She was right. I had won. And Mark? Mark would spend the rest of his life regretting it. A week after Mark showed up at my door, I saw him again. I was at the grocery store picking out a bottle of wine when I felt a presence behind me. That familiar, unwelcome weight. I turned slowly, and there he was. He looked worse than before. Unshaven, tired, like a man who had lost everything. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anger when I looked at him. No rage, no resentment, just nothing. He hesitated, shifting his weight. Hey, Linda, I smiled. Not kindly. Mark. His throat bobbed. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he knew better now. He knew I wasn't that woman anymore. The woman who begged, who forgave, who made excuses. I grabbed my wine, turned, and walked away without another word. I didn't need closure. I had already won. That night, I sat on the back porch with Emma, a blanket wrapped around us, looking up at the stars. You okay? She asked softly. I thought about it for a second. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. For so long, I thought Mark had taken everything from me, my dignity, my family, my future. But sitting there with my daughter, the cool night air wrapping around us, I realized something. I was free, and that was better than any revenge. I turned to Emma and smiled. What should we do this weekend? Just us. She grinned. Something fun. I raised my glass. To new beginnings, then. She clinked her soda can against it. To new beginnings, she echoed. And for the first time in a long time, I looked forward to the future. Because Mark was in my past. And that's exactly where he would stay.